Have you been watching this game? What the fuck is going on? And also, why I love Zay Flowers so much, but how come every time I start him in For the Belt, he fucking sucks?
Because he sucks.
Yeah.
No, no, I liked him in college. I hate Baltimore, dude.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. Can't complain.
Good.
Pretty excited. This is like one of our better Thursday night games.
Oh yeah.
Be getting into it here in the near future. But yeah, man, I think that football's getting pretty exciting. I know
Mm-hmm.
we started off that first couple of weeks. We're talking about the quarterbacks being disappointing with their production and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
now I think things are really starting to get awesome. So
Yeah.
just enjoying it, loving it, mid-season form as a fan.
Yeah, no, it's becoming a very interesting season. The offenses are definitely starting to heat up. It still feels a little spotty at times when we're gonna see people. Right now, we usually don't record on Thursday, so it's a
Yeah.
little shocking. But right now, like Jamar Chase is going off, which is always nice to see, unless you're playing him in For the Belt like I am. But
Ay, ay,
um,
ay.
yeah, it's an exciting time. It's already week 10, which is sad on the one hand. But also we really know what's going on, which is nice. So yeah. On that note, I mean, we can just head right into it. This is the rookie roundup for this week. And we're going to start where we always start in the promising usage guys. Our first guy to talk about is Tyrone Tracy. Only had 8 points this week, but did have 16 attempts and a target. So that's, good usage there. 66 yards, 69 all purpose. So not a lot of production out of the Giants this week, or at least specifically Tyrone Tracy. But it's still good to see him getting such a decent workload. So we just kind of continue to see, we'll hope to continue to see that going forward. Um, we got Trey Benson up next, 13 points. I think his biggest game of the year on only 28% of the snaps, but he had a touchdown on and 37 yards on the ground and 18 yards through the air with a catch. And so I think everyone on the Cardinals rushing attack was just going off against the Bears, which was pretty fun to see. We'll have to see if he can kind of keep that efficiency up. But it does seem like they're starting to work him in more, which is good for a guy who's backing up an older guy like James Conner. Next, we got Bucky Irving, who I believe got hurt in the game at some point, or is at least missing practice right now. 6 points, um, 24 yards and three catches and 10 yards through the air. So nothing crazy. We do know they have kind of a double-headed rushing attack with White, which I think White had a pretty decent game this week. But they were up against a Chiefs defense that is tough to do anything against. So Ray Davis salvages a pretty dismal day with a 63-yard receiving touchdown. Everything else he did was meh, but I mean, if you're gonna score, score big. So that was nice to see. But ever since James Cook has come back, he's just kind of been a more forgotten factor. Ricky Parasol and going into the wide receivers now, Ricky Parasol and Jacob Cowing were both on buys, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see how they use Ricky going forward after the bye week. I hope he gets a little more production out there. Keon Coleman did play 79% of the snaps, but he had a wrist injury to end the game, and he had two targets. Not a lot of production out of him this week, which is sad to see. Jalen McMillan didn't play. He was hurt. Xavier Legette caught a touchdown, 6 targets, 83% of the snaps, 14 points. Not a lot of yards, but he's a touchdown in 2 or 3 weeks straight now, which is good to see. And then his teammate Jalen Coker, after he was one of the waiver wire pickups of the week, goes 2 for 36. So I mean, with the Panthers are just bad. So it's tough to really rely on any of them. It feels like these guys are more touchdown dependent, and the Panthers don't score a lot of touchdowns. So we'll see how this room shakes out going forward. They did just trade away Jonathan Mingo, so maybe that'll open up some more opportunities. But it's not like Mingo was getting a lot of opportunities himself. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes going forward. Hopefully Bryce Young can start to heat up now that he's starting for the third week in a row. Rome Odunze had a pretty big game, 88% of the snaps, 5 catches for 104 yards. He continues to show flashes and just is really buried on the depth chart, and I'm excited to see what he can do when he really becomes the 1B to DJ Moore. So that'll be really fun, and these flashes are nice to see. But until the Bears offense gets a little more consistent and he isn't the third guy there, I think it's really going to be this. You're going to get big games randomly, but then some duds. Speaking of duds, I think this is a first for the rookie roundup. Xavier Worthy, -1 points on the week,
Yeah.
and he played 68% of the snaps and did not get hurt. He had 2 targets, no catches, 2 rushes for -10 yards. Just an absolutely abysmal day for the kid. And I know I said he'd be up and down, but I didn't think he would be negative. So that is a tough day, and especially with DeAndre Hopkins going off. I think we all hoped that maybe Hopkins being there would open up Worthy, and so far not so much. So that's a little sad. Getting into tight ends, Theo Johnson had 14 points this week, 3 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown. So that was cool to see. He's really starting to take the role there. I mean, 85% of the snaps this week. So there is some viable rookie tight ends in this class. Speaking of, Jatavion Sanders, also 13 points or 13 points himself, 4 catches for 87 yards. So that's a pretty decent day for a tight end, especially on a bad offense. So it's good to see. I mean, we got him, those two, and Brock Bowers coming out. And then there's still holdouts like Eric All and Ben Sinnott. So it might end up shaking out to be a pretty decent little tight end class if these guys keep going the way they're going. Moving on, possible studs. We've got Lad McConkey here, 11 points on 84% of the snaps, 5 catches for 64 yards. Not really amazing what you want to see, but the Chargers did kind of get up early and just kind of started to walk. But we've still seen it out of him. He may be like on the low end of the possible studs tier right now. But it'll be interesting to see how he goes going forward. Another guy having not such a great game, Brian Thomas Jr., only 6 points this week and 91% of the snaps. I kind of spoke on how I felt like potentially Christian Kirk going out might hurt Brian Thomas last week a little more than people might realize. And maybe this was a fluke game, or maybe it's just that Jacksonville doesn't have anything else, and now Brian Thomas Jr. is a little easier to manage. But he only had 4 targets, so I'd have to go back and look and see if that was a scheme thing or if that's just a Jag suck thing or what was really going on there. But not what you want to see out of him after some really good weeks. Malik Neighbors had 15 points, which he just continues to rack up so many targets and so many catches that like really PPR is where he's going to feast this year. If they get a decent offense going in New York, we could maybe see him start to explode a little like he did earlier in the year. But if he's going to keep getting 11 targets a game, he's too good of a player not to turn that into something. So 9 catches for 59 yards isn't great, but hey, it'll get you 15 points. Um, Marvin Harrison Jr. continues his up, down, up, down, up, down roller coaster season. 4 points this week, 74% of the snaps, but only 2 catches for 34 yards and a fumble. So I mean, we just need consistency out of him and out of the Cardinals in general. Although the Cardinals did pull out a win this week, so it seems like I don't know, seems weird there. And then Brock Bowers got another touchdown this week. Ended up with 16 points, 5 catches for 45 yards on 8 targets. He's on the field for 90% of the snaps. I also don't think I've heard Michael Mayer's name once this year, which was just interesting because I remember at the beginning of the season, like, oh, we're going to use both these guys. Okay. I don't know why Michael Mayer got instantly forgotten about, but Brock Bowers really has shown that he is the dude. So I guess that's why. Moving on to the QB review. Um, Jaden Daniels keeps looking good. 20 points, 2 touchdowns through the air, 8 carries for 35 yards, 15 of 22. Really just keeping this Commanders dream alive. They are leading the division right now, and that division doesn't look that scary right now. I mean, the Eagles are kind of starting to heat up now that they got all their pieces back, but man, Jaden Daniels, I mean, I know you were on it at the beginning of the year. I mean, I liked Jaden Daniels as well. But he really has been electric, man, and he's been everything they could have asked for so far. Um, wow, Tylan Wallace with a big score. Who would have thunk? Uh, Caleb Williams this week, only 9 points, and just kind of what I was talking about with the Bears offense. It's just kind of I don't bad, I guess. Like for a lack of a better way to describe it, it's just not functional really yet. And I saw something that Caleb Williams has the most off-target deep passes in the league this year. And I don't know if that's a rhythm or a timing thing or if that's a him thing, but
The him thing.
regardless, not what you want to see. Bo Nix salvages a shit day with another good rushing day with 36 yards and a touchdown on, or sorry, he caught a touchdown because of course he did because
Of
Sean
course.
Payton is crazy. Uh, when he's getting blown the fuck out. Let's throw Bo Nix a touchdown. But
This
anyway,
guy.
ends up with 18 points, 223 yards through the air, and a pick. Um, you know, it's Bo Nix.
It's Bo
I mean,
Nix.
he continues to add fantasy viability
Bo knows, dude.
through through his rushing, and then can sprinkle in some passing weeks where he looks really good. And so if he continues to build on that, he really could be a viable starter as much as the chagrin of everyone in this room. Um, my room,
So
not both our rooms, but mine
no.
specifically. And then Drake May, 15 points, really didn't do a lot until the very end of the game, but then made an absolutely crazy play to get that game to overtime. They still ultimately lost, but I like seeing 8 attempts for 95 yards out of him. He did throw 2 picks, but I don't know how much you can really hold against him with just being on the team that currently has the number one overall pick. So it's just a bad team, and he is doing what he can. But we've seen some flashes out of him as well. And this is really starting to heat up to be like a really, really interesting QB class, all things
Yeah.
told. And we still have Penix on the bench, not doing anything, and JJ McCarthy hurt. So we've got a lot to see going forward out of these QBs, but kind of a middling week, but some stuff to take away for sure.
I think it's very exciting. I loved everything you were just talking about. These rookies have got me hyped, man. I see what you're saying. Bo Nix, the worst thing ever. Sean Payton. I can't tell if it's Sean Payton or if it's Bo Nix with you, but I understand. I understand. Nobody should be happy about this.
I
We'll keep
hate
it. Yeah, yeah. I
Sean
mean,
Payton.
I will say Michael Mayer has been on the PUP since
Oh,
week
has he? Oh,
three,
that would make
but
sense as to why I haven't heard his name.
yeah, but it's personal. It's personal. It's not. It's a non-football thing. So
Oh,
could be that. Yeah, he like realizes how bad he is at football, and so he's like, I'm just gonna
damn.
see you guys around. So. I mean, yeah, it would definitely wreck your stuff going to your second year, and they're like, we're just going to take a Brock Bowers,
The most
see you.
generational tight end
Hmm.
prospect of the last 20 years. Well,
Of all
since
the
Kyle
wide
Pitts,
receiver
I guess.
rooms in the NFL, I think this is the place where like two
Tight ends could
viable
do
tight
it.
ends
Yeah.
could easily get it going, but that's not exactly what is what. But man, yeah, these rookies are getting excited, so I'm glad that you're enjoying them. I think we're gonna probably bring up a couple of them throughout the remainder of the episode, because we're doing Share the Love
Barrett.
this week. So it's
We
kind
all
of
could use a
a
little love right now.
absolutely, man. Yes, Bo Nix could use a little love right now. Now, yeah, we're just bringing this segment back, and it's pretty much a wild card, you know.
Hmm.
This week, I got into kind of the rushing numbers
Oh,
for
nice.
what's going on throughout all of the NFL teams, and just kind of this is my system. I get like way too deep, and then I find something interesting, and I back out and see how interesting it really is. So join me on my spirit quest through the rushing numbers in the NFL thus far.
Yeah,
But
let's do it.
I'm into it, man. So I stacked all the teams up, and I looked at like how many guys per team have over 30 attempts so far this
Okay.
season. And it was pretty much, it was cut and dry. Like 29 teams had two or three guys with at least 30 attempts. And I was like, that makes sense. But who are these other three teams? And one team only had a single player with over 30 attempts, and that was the Rams,
Huh.
which I thought was pretty interesting. When you got Kyron Williams up there, who only trails Derrick Henry in rushing attempts.
Hmm.
He's got 161. So it just takes me back to like, I don't know, who's this other dude I was hearing about this summer? Like a Wolverine or something like that.
Baked, baked
Bl-
Currum?
Blake, Blake Tarum.
Something like
Blake
that.
Corum. Yeah, like the 28-year-old rookie running back out of Michigan.
Oh,
So
goodness.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I remember me kind of poo-pooing the whole idea all off season, and then once Kyron Williams was supposed to return punts, then I was like, ah, shit, maybe he's gonna. And I guess it was just a swerve by old Sean McVay to confuse everyone. Well, or maybe just me. But yeah, I mean, Kyron has been awesome.
Yeah, he's definitely been awesome. And I will say that the Rams have been extremely confusing between the wide receiver injuries and just I don't know, like the Rams that played the Vikings was that team was amazing. And then we roll out last week and it was like, oh shit, is this the same team? I didn't know like Puka Nacua was punching a dude.
Yeah, that was
It was
wild.
crazy. Like somehow they beat the Seahawks, even though JSN put up like the number one fantasy week out of all
Hmm.
players. It was crazy. So Sean McVay, consider me fooled. You've got me completely shook, and I don't know which way is up anymore. But I know if I'm looking up, I won't be seeing Blake Corum. So
No, you will
thank you.
not.
Share the love with Blake. Let us all know if he's a viable NFL player. Like we all have short benches, and we need to know. We need to know
Hmm.
now. Um, but all right, so that gets us to 30. And then you got two other teams that have four players with at least 30 carries, which is pretty cool, man. They're definitely sharing the love. One of those teams is the Chiefs, and
Hmm.
that kind of makes sense because you've had two lead backs there with Pacheco starting the year out, and then
Hmm.
obviously Kareem Hunt in there getting nasty. And then we had the Carson Steele experiment, which
Yeah.
featured a week 3 17 touch game for that guy. Um, that's really cooled off, like
Mm.
I don't know. I have a feeling there's a chance that when Pacheco gets activated to the 53-man roster, Mr. Steele may be the casualty
Oh,
of that
okay.
event.
Wow.
Just yeah, you didn't hear it first here,
I
but
mean, if 29-year-old Kareem Hunt is taking all your touches away and actually being consistent with them, it's kind of a sign. I guess you're right.
yeah. Feast mode. That's his new thing. Anyway, that's a Zeke thing, right? Feast mode.
I
Just get
think so.
junky and get out
Yeah.
there. That's that's what I'm into. Okay, so the other team is Washington, and there's been like one missed game by Brian Robinson. So this is truly like three running backs all getting over 30 carries. It's been pretty cool. You got Jeremy McNichols, who's just heating up for like the first time ever. That's cool. I like it. McNichols is a pretty sweet name.
It
I
is a
wish
good
that
one.
was put that on my business card, but Austin
Hmm.
Eckler's doing well, and then obviously Brian Robinson. We all know the story there.
Hmm.
But
And
the thing
Jaden
that blew
Daniels,
me
right?
away, yeah, it's like Jaden Daniels is keeping these guys in the running, like
Hmm.
hefty contributions. Um, thanks to him, they are third in rushing yards per game,
Wow.
which that's pretty impressive when you consider number one is the Baltimore Henry Kings, and then the second team up is the Philadelphia back jumping Barclays. So
Ooh.
yeah, if you're competing with those guys and you're using four different players to do it,
Hmm.
I'm pretty impressed. I'm
Yeah,
pretty impressed.
absolutely.
But it goes even further with Washington, kind of blowing my mind, wowing me, because they're one of three teams with three players that have 10 or more red zone touches. So it's not even like, these guys are getting the early down carries or whatever. Like these are all
They're rotating.
potent, yeah, potent touches that are happening, which is pretty cool. Buffalo and Indianapolis are the other two teams that have three players with 10 red zone touches, and that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, they both had injuries at the running back position they had to deal with. So,
Yep, straight up. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. So far, so good. We should keep on going. I'm into it. But yeah, it really got weird when I got into the red zone splits. There's a
hmm.
couple of games or a couple of teams that kind of wow me. This is like no surprise here, what I'm about to say to you, but right now in Atlanta, Bijan has 28 red zone touches and Tyler Algier has 17.
Wow.
Um, so I mean, it's a little bit closer than you'd think, but if you look at total touches, Bijan has 135 compared to 74,
Hmm.
which is roughly like the same percentage wise, but like you can't really look at percentages when one player has 60 more carries, but you get in the red zone and he only has like nine more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous. So we're definitely in vulturing territory. It's like Bijan does something awesome, gets a little gassed, goes down at the 6 yard line, and here comes Algier for three touches consecutively. And it hurts my heart, it hurts my soul, even though I was a big Algier guy. Yeah, couldn't bring up the kind of share splits without talking about that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I went through. There were three teams with the three players over 10 red zone touches. Um, but I found a pretty gross outlier. Um, and it was the Giants.
Huh.
And so there's been some back and forth between Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, which obviously Tracy's got that. But with that little struggle of who's the lead back and everything there, it opened up an opportunity where um, they only have one player with 10 red zone carries or more, and it's Daniel Jones.
Uh,
So
of course it is.
grossness all the way.
But
But
also,
look,
how often are they getting in the red zone though, too?
yeah, you got
Like,
to look at that for sure.
mhm.
I could tell you if you bear with me. Let's see what we got. 31 red zone rush attempts.
Okay,
So
total. Gotcha.
yeah, that's pretty gross.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
great.
yeah, it's 11 fewer than Denver.
Hmm.
So if you're doing worse than Denver offensively, then you're probably not doing stellar. Um, But I got to looking at some of these numbers with the quarterbacks, and I dialed it up. I was like, how many of these guys have over 10 red zone carries and are viable rushers? So I looked at the number of guys that have 45 rush attempts and over 10 red zone carries. and it shook out to be seven dudes. And one of them was Justin Fields. So I'm not really going to talk about him. He's
That's
not a
fair.
viable fantasy option
Yeah.
at the moment. Um, but the other six guys, kind of familiar names, kind of recurring names so far in this episode somehow. But Jalen Hurts, of course. You got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. But then Bo Nix and Daniel Jones are guys that are like rushing the ball and getting red zone touches. It's kind of wild. And with the two rookies on this list, I kind of want to look at how the rushing and the passing work combined and compared to the other players. I'm really trying to just look at some of these guys, especially Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, and see what kind of baseline I'm gonna compare them for like future value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we see a lot of weird stuff going on, especially like pop years and then drop years or whatever you want to call it. CJ Stroud, obviously amazing last year, still pretty great, but we're seeing weaknesses due to
Hmm.
weapons and such like that.
Yeah.
So
An offensive line. Yeah.
exactly. So having the baseline of a rushing attack is like kind of enticing when you're looking at future value. So
Hmm.
just looking at the list of six players, I'm going to break them down by like rushing share, red zone share, just general touchdowns. So that's the ground game. And then I'm just going to see how they're doing passing metrics to see how they're doing like as a total player fantasy
Yeah.
wise.
Total package.
Yes, sir. So we got some total packages in this lineup. We'll start with Mr. Total Package himself. It's going to be Lamar Jackson. I mean, you're
Uh-huh.
watching him right now. If he's throwing Tylan Wallace 86 yards tutties, I mean something's going good for him. Um, right now he's doing really well. He's got 28% of the team's rushing share
Wow.
as far as touches go, which is impressive when you have Derrick Henry on your team, that he's still getting that amount. But compared to the last few years, he's only at 22% of the team's red zone touches, and he only has two rushing touchdowns, which is like 15% of the team's rushing touchdowns. That's definitely got to be lower than what he's been doing in the past, but
Hmm.
he's doing something that is really unheard of. And he's third in the league in passing yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Pretty
he's
wild.
got throwing 20 touchdowns so far. Well, like as of pre-week 10 games. So that's tied for second in the league, which is pretty impressive. And he's got the 10th best completion percentage, and he's only thrown two interceptions. So he's really playing lights out. So I guess
Hmm.
this is best case scenario. And just going through these guys, he leads obviously for like passing yards, passing touchdowns. And there's three guys that only have two interceptions thrown on the list. The other two are Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. We like our high risk, high reward guys, but Josh Allen has really like gotten things under control this year.
Hmm.
For the turnover game, he was like public enemy number one when it came to like blowing games with red zone picks and shit
Yeah.
like that. So only having two is pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna go from Lamar straight into Jaden Daniels. I don't know if
Uh-huh.
this is like the comparison we need to be making right now. This is where I need to figure it out for myself. This is kind of the whole backing behind this thought experiment. But so Daniels right now is he's got 28% of his rushing attempts for Washington. So that's right there with Lamar. But he's doing a little better on touchdowns. He's got four, which is 29% of the rushing touchdowns for Washington. And yeah, 20, he's scored a quarter of their touchdowns total. So a little bit better on that share, obviously, twice as many touchdowns as Lamar on the ground. But as far as like passing, that's where a big difference comes in. He's only thrown nine touchdowns compared
Hmm.
to like Lamar's 20. So he's 22nd in the league. He's only 13th in the passing yards right now. but he is third in completion percentage. So and he's only got the two picks. So he's doing really smart passing, even if the volume isn't really there yet. I think he's got a lot of potential to grow. He's only been in the league for half a season. So
Yeah.
one thing he stands out along with Josh Allen is 7 wins. Like they're
Ugh.
doing really well. He's leading his
Yucky.
team to victory.
Not
So
yucky, sorry.
he hates it, dude. Yeah, this is pretty much this is going to be a big NFC East conversation here. Um, because when I'm looking at Daniels, I want to go straight into Jalen Hurts and see where we're
Hmm.
feeling about him. Because he's the guy that's like for real leading all of the quarterbacks in the rushing metrics. He's got 30% of the attempts for his team. He's got 45% of the red zone touches for his team, which is outrageous considering Saquon's on his team.
Yeah,
But
that's
he's
pretty
got eight,
ridiculous.
yeah, 8 rushing touchdowns, 57% of the team's rushing touchdowns. So that's next level.
Hmm.
A few things that are surprising for me from him is he's seventh in the completion percentage and he only has 4 picks. So he's doing pretty well on ball security, but he's only thrown 10 touchdowns, which is middle of the pack for
Yeah.
quarterbacks. And his passing yards are 20th. So he's got some ground to make up. I think a healthy AJ Brown and Devonta Smith might help him out there.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm looking like, I mean, I don't know. It's getting weird. I don't know. Jaden Daniels, like, is he closer to Lamar? Is he closer to Jalen? I don't know. He's got a better passing game than Jalen, in my opinion, but Lamar's on one right now. This is unprecedented.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of, I'm just trying to figure out if I think he's like sustainable total package going forward or not. But then you get into the guys that are a little questionable from time to time, and I hate to throw Josh Allen on that, but sometimes it be like that. So I'm throwing him in. He's having a down year for rushing right now. He's only got 19% of his team's rush attempts, and only 22% of the team's red zone attempts, which is way down.
Yeah.
Uh, Only 3 touchdowns and 23% of the team's ground score. Ray Davis, I mean, we know that we thought he was awesome and that he rounded out this team as far as like having a 1-2 punch, something they've been missing for years, kind of feeling their way through the dark in the running back room. James Cook just absolutely going off right now. But it's surprising to see the play calling and like just the approach Allen has had, almost taking a back seat and just letting those guys cook. With there you go. That's my pun for the day. Um, but I think there's a lot of potential for him to grow in that area. And as a passer, right now he's 10th in passing yards. He's got 17 touchdowns, which I thought was a fairly high number considering the wide receiver core.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's got some help in the receiving of the running back room, but yeah, only 22nd in pass completion percentage. So
Damn.
not super awesome.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, which is why he ends up in this kind of bottom half of the guys. No, I'm seeing other correlations between these three. All right, I won't make it weird. Next up, we've got Daniel Jones.
Ugh.
So right now he's got a quarter of the team's rushing attempts. He's got 35% of the team's rushing red zone carries. He's only scored 1 touchdown on the ground, but the Giants only have 5 touchdowns on the ground, so that's still 20%. It's kind of sad to put those numbers all together. But he's 16th in the passing yards, but he's actually on pace for a 3,500 yard season, which would be his best season, which kind of it's scary to think
That's
about.
mind blowing.
Yeah, but he's not doing the best as far as like completion percentage. He's at 23 and then he's got 5 picks and they only have 2 wins. So he's not really winning games for his team, which we kind of all know that's Daniel Jones's thing. Like even when he's having good fantasy years, it doesn't mean that the Giants are doing well.
It's
And I
fair.
think we're all hoping that Malik Neighbors could take him to like a new level of sustainable or like viable. Um, but it hasn't really gone that well. But I'm telling you, man, this guy, I'm freaked out. I don't know what to say about him because he was the quarterback for last week, and he's got a schedule coming up that is like cake as hell. So I'm kind of scared, kind of spotlighting him because I think that he's got a pretty good back half of this season coming his way. And I don't want to know, like, I don't want to be the guy that says like Daniel Jones is about to be like a fantasy option and you should keep your eye out on him. But they got Washington. They just got out of Washington, where it's quarterback five. They're going to Carolina. They got a bye, and then it's Tampa Bay and Dallas, and then they've got Baltimore, Indian, and the Falcons towards the playoff schedule. So it's going to have some juicy matchups, especially if we can keep this rushing game going. So
Yeah.
there's that. Just had to say one good thing about Daniel Jones. Hopefully it gets edited out and not in a permanent record here. Um, but going from him, we finish strong with Bo Nix. Five
Yay.
letters, all you need to know. But he's got 23.5% of the team's rushing attempts and 31% of the red zone rush attempts. So ended up with four touchdowns on the ground, which is 57% of the team's ground
Hmm.
game. Ooh, that's the same number as Jalen Hurts. I mean, ooh, shit, you got to watch out for that.
With half
Um,
as many total.
yeah, come on, dude. He's still tied with Jaden Daniels, that's not too
That's
horrible.
fair. Yeah.
But he only has thrown eight passing touchdowns. That's the same number as Daniel Jones.
Mm.
So they're tied for that right there. He's 21st in passing yards. It's on like a 3,300 yard pace,
Mm.
which you got to kind of give the guy some slack. That wide receiver room, like the whole team is kind of iffy. But the O line's good. The defense is keeping them in games. It's been kind of interesting to watch it, but he's thrown six picks, which is not bad for a rookie, but not
Yeah.
impressive at all.
Hmm.
But his completion percentage is 26 in the league. That's not good. Um,
Damn.
yeah, but somehow he's keeping them above 500, right? So,
Yeah, they paid a bunch of dog shit teams.
all right, all right, all right. All right. It's got stuff to say. Now you're right. I think they got Kansas City this week, so
Yeah.
we'll see what
They
happens.
just
But
got waxed by the Ravens and they're about to do it again
should be
by
fun
the
for me,
Chiefs. Yeah,
at least.
for
They
sure.
always give us a little bit of trouble.
Mm.
This is that Arrowhead game. They bring their best when they come to town.
That's fair.
But that's I mean, that's share the love, kind of just talking about
Yeah.
like
Wow.
rushing quarterbacks and just general observations. I think we'll probably bring this segment back a couple more times
Yeah, I think
and
so. We
work it
should.
through other positions, other metrics, but I don't know. Um I thought with all the trade deadline stuff, we could just go into a little bit of
Mhm.
reaction, like
We
fantasy
should.
wise.
Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna start off with just the last day guys, the guys we don't really know much about. Starting off with Jonathan Mingo, ends up in Dallas, coming from
Hmm.
Carolina. Um, what's your initial on this one, man?
Well, my initial thought is uh, they got fleeced. You
Yeah,
trade away Cooper for a fifth, and then you trade a fourth for Mingo. But I don't know. We liked Mingo coming out, and
of
like
course.
he has a clear path to number two. Now, I mean, with Dak being hurt, that is concerning. I don't know if Cooper Rush is really going to activate Jonathan Mingo, but if Dak comes back, and is okay, I don't know what the prognosis on him is. I guess I might have missed it. I don't know if he's out for the year or whatever. But if he comes back and is okay, then I do think Mingo might have a chance. I mean, we liked the talent, we liked his explosiveness, and it just seems like he wasn't a fit in Carolina. So a change of scenery is nice for him.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was a fit in Carolina, man. I mean, they we'll get to another guy. Like they just cleaned house, apparently. Actually, yeah, that not to get too far away from fantasy, but they also traded Cam Robinson, which is
Mm,
kind of wild too. So
And Deontay Johnson.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, yeah, Dak's out. They say he's out for a couple of weeks, might be back in like week 15. So just in time for the Carolina game. Maybe they can show
Hey.
him what's up. But I think that I've got some faith. You got Tolbert and then Turpin, and they've got five they've got 8 or 9 targets over the past 2 weeks. So they're getting some usage, like 4 5 targets a game.
Uh-huh.
And then yeah, you got Rush now. But CeeDee Lamb's a little banged up at the moment. So I think there's a place for Mingo to be on the field and beat out one of these other guys, but I don't think it's as promising of an opportunity as some other guys like
Hmm.
Mike Williams going to the Steelers from the
Yeah.
Jets.
Hmm.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing with Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson. They both each have 8 targets in the 2 weeks of like the Russ era.
Hmm.
And like, there's no way things could be any worse for Mike Williams than they were with the Jets.
Hmm.
So,
That's for sure.
I mean, you put him on the field, and I think he's got the opportunity to
Yeah.
click.
And Russ has always been like a deep ball savant. And, Mike Williams maybe isn't what he was in Los Angeles, but like I think he's shown a little bit of flashes this year. It's just kind of been intermingled with death stares from Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know. Like I like that. I don't know how much he's gonna get and how viable he'll be fantasy wise, but as far as the Steelers are concerned, I do think having somebody to take a little pressure off Pickens and give Wilson more of a deep outlet makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, when Van Jefferson is getting that many targets, like you're in a bad way. So
Yeah.
hell yeah. I haven't watched the box score too heavy on tonight's Thursday night game, but it features Khalil Herbert now with the
Hmm.
Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
So Zach Moss is on IR. I mean,
Hmm.
the dude was getting single digit carries since like the third or fourth week of the season. It's been kind of the Chase Brown town all
Hmm.
all day. So
I think it's this week it seems to have continued that way. I haven't really seen much out of old Khalil Herbert, but I haven't been paying that close attention either. I've been working and then immediately starting this, but I think he could get going, but I do think it's going to be similar to what Zach Moss was getting. I think Chase Brown's just the guy there,
for sure. Yeah,
unfortunately.
I'm glad I didn't trade you Brown for a
Yeah.
second, dude.
I say unfortunately just because I feel like I don't their rush attack has just been kind of bad so far. Like it seems like they really miss Joe Mixon and like yeah, Chase Brown's getting the work or whatever, but it seems like air or bust in Cincinnati.
Hmm. Yeah. I don't know. He's hang up 21 fantasy points here, so
I guess that's fair.
I don't know. It could be the league scoring for my bananas league, but yeah, I'm excited just to see Khalil be able to be on the field because no one, I don't think, was had it. I mean, there was no hope for him in Chicago. There's no hope for freaking
Hmm.
DJ Moore right now in Chicago. So you can't really expect Herbert to be moving the needle in that situation. Give him a successful offense, and maybe he can also be successful and contribute. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, we're still in this game, Ravens, Bengals live action at you. And I want to know, like Deontay Johnson, dude, is he like gonna tap out Bateman? Is it over for Bateman now or what?
I don't know. So far in this game, I've seen a decent amount of Bateman actually. Comparatively, I haven't really seen again, not watching it with the most hawk eyes, but I haven't seen a lot of Deontay Johnson. I do think he fits and helps this offense, but I also think he kind of fills a similar role to Zay Flowers, and I think Zay Flowers has that role kind of established.
Yeah.
So I do think he's like a cool number two, but he's not like some field stretcher. And as we just see Rashad Bateman catch another ball here, and again not seeing anything out of Johnson. So I don't know. I mean,
Hmm.
it's early, so maybe he's still learning the offense and whatever. But it's just interesting to see a player that has a lot of talent kind of get traded twice, and like I don't know. It just seems weird.
Yeah, and this is like I don't know. Baltimore got a sixth and Deontay Johnson for a fifth. So
Yeah.
like I don't
It's
know.
like they
And
just
it's
wanted, I mean, it's the Panthers, so I don't know.
yeah,
They're not
three.
great, but like it seems like they just wanted to get rid of this guy.
hmm Yeah, they I don't know. They're like, what happened? We accidentally won a game. We got to get rid of an unviable player out of our. But yeah, right now Bateman is tied with Flowers for six targets, so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Um, but something we've already got it kind of a preview. So Deontay had 1 week with Baltimore last week. He had like a 30% snap share and didn't have any targets, and that's fine. Um, but DeAndre Hopkins,
Mhm.
with 2 weeks in with Kansas City, leaving Tennessee and making that trip, he has now 12 targets of a possible 109 passes.
Oh wow.
And something is happening with the Chiefs, because Xavier Worthy, as you mentioned in the rookie roundup, he had back-to-back 8 target weeks and now is getting 2 targets, 0 catches, where Hopkins comes in and delivers 8 catches on 9 targets with two
Mhm.
scores. And Pat Mahomes is starting to look like a dude. He was looking like a guy named Patrick for a while,
Mhm.
and now he's starting to kick it up. I will say, in the 2 weeks that Hopkins has been, on the team in red, 28 targets to Kelsey. So there's not like any impact in Kelsey's
And
workload.
his,
That's
yeah.
that's purely safe. I think this just adds a layer to the offense that isn't going to be really taking away from
Hmm.
any other players except for Worthy, but just adding to the dynamic, passing ability of Pat Mahomes. So
Yeah, and it really with the Worthy stuff, it just kind of reaffirms stuff that I already thought and hoped he would be able to get out of. But I just feel like he's just an awesome field stretching two. I don't feel like he's a one. They had to bring in DeAndre Hopkins, who then has a 30-point week, and 2 touchdowns. So like I don't know. I mean, it's obviously his rookie year. He's got plenty of time to grow and develop into something, and I think he can have some decent years, but I just don't think he'll ever be the guy.
yeah, especially, I mean, Rice, you get
Yeah,
Rice
you're
out
gonna get
there.
Rice back. Yeah.
And it's, yeah, they're just this. I mean, it's way. I'd say, like, as far as an NFL roster build, if you're comparing them to like Juju or Sky Moore or Justin Watson or like
Uh-huh.
Mecole Hardman or Kadarius Toney or whatever, I'm definitely picking Worthy. So
Yeah.
just from the struggles they've had at that position, it's great to have him on the squad. But you're right, he's not the alpha. He's not the number one. He's too skinny. He's too damn skinny. I'll say it first. But one that's throwing me off is Cam Akers going to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Um,
Weird.
yeah, he's only got, so 2 weeks. He's only got he got 8 touches, total touches. It was a few passes, few rushes in week 9. And Aaron Jones is getting like major bell cow workload. But
Hmm.
his efficiency the past few weeks has been a little shaky.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Cam Akers is out there doing 7.6 yards per carry. I don't know. Is this a thing? Is this a real thing?
No.
Is this just a one-off?
It's them
Yeah.
thinking they're gonna throw the ball when Cam Akers is on the field and him getting the not very big boxes. I don't know that for sure. Haven't looked into it, but I would
Yeah.
almost guarantee you that. And I feel like this trade went down when Aaron Jones hurt his oblique or whatever it was, and we didn't know his status. So I feel like it was almost not a panic move, but definitely like a security move more
Mhm.
than an actual oh, we need a guy to come in here and run a bunch.
All right. I'm with you. Let's see. Cam Akers, 0% stacked boxes. There you
Hmm.
go. Look at you. Look at you. You're insane. You knew it already. Um, wow. Now you got to get on the NFL Pro. They got the stacked boxes for you.
I need to. I
Yeah,
did
it's a rabbit hole.
this few weeks, last few months. Well, not months. Last few weeks has been tough for me to really get into it. So I apologize, by the way, to the podcast listeners. I feel like my
Don't.
analysis has not been.
You're
up to
beautiful.
snuff lately. But thank you for that.
You're next level, dude. You're RDR's Amari Cooper. No, I'm just
Oh,
joking.
traded
Oh
for a
shit.
fifth.
No shit, right? Here we go. I'm keeping you. I'm keeping you. I don't need that fifth. Um, yeah, we know he's with the Bills now.
Uh-huh.
Cleveland is, I don't know, Cleveland, dude, I thought maybe they had something going. Of course, Winston's like, what? You guys are optimistic? Let me show
Mm-hmm.
you guys who I really am. No
Mm-hmm.
big deal. Hold my beer. Oh wait, I poured it on you. My bad. Okay.
Whoops.
So 2 weeks with the Bills, and he's had 7 targets out of a possible 106 passes. And in that time, 9 targets have gone to Keon Coleman and 17 to Khalil Shakir.
Mhm.
So like both those numbers are higher than the early season stuff for Shakir and Coleman. So it's almost like, Cooper's the tide that rises all ships, kind of get Josh Allen in a rhythm, kind of get the defense. Like you've got number one cornerbacks covering a rookie that never really hit his stride in college. And then Khalil Shakir, which, he's awesome, but like that's some Mountain West Conference level college stuff. We're not looking for him to be a number one.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having the threat of Cooper on the field is making things better for the team. He did hit it hot week one and then kind of fizzled week two, but I think you're going to see it as a like the full team efficiency kind of production level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's probably going to have some pop weeks.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, that was kind of their whole mindset going into the year was spreading the love, instead of
Yeah.
just going into digs over and over and over again. So I think Cooper adds to that. But I think you're right. I think it was more about having another viable target so that all of the targets for these guys became more viable. Because I feel like it's pretty easy to potentially lock down a rookie and Khalil Shakir, who are both good in Coleman and Shakir. They're good players. I don't know if they're groundbreaking players, but now just the threat of Cooper on the field opens everybody up a lot more.
Yeah, and I think it's cool. I mean, like I don't like the Bills being like whatever. I don't like them being successful, but it's cool to see it working, in a post Diggs world. Um, just because it was confusing. Like we didn't know if it was the scheme or they've been through some OCs. Josh Allen, is it him? Is it just Diggs? I don't know. But it's starting to feel like they have a lot more depth to their abilities now, especially the
Mhm.
run game, and now Cooper just kind of is the icing on it. So we'll see how it pans out. But yeah, another team that's kind of hitting stride just all of a sudden is the Jets. They
Mhm.
got Devonte. You're gonna punch me through the screen. Devonte Adams, obviously from the Raiders to the Jets. He's been
Mhm.
with them for 3 weeks, and in those 3 weeks, he has 26 targets
Yep.
out of a possible 99 passes. That's quite a bit. But for all those who are worried about a guy named Garrett Wilson, he has had 27 targets in that time.
Mm.
Um, and he hasn't missed a beat on the volume. It's been like 8, 9, 10 on the targets. He did have a 23 target week 5 against the Vikings. If you take that out, it's like a flat line.
Yeah.
No workload diminished whatsoever with the addition of Adams, and Adams kind of heating up. I don't know if you've been following that. A couple of your favorite players from your past back together.
Yeah, I have been, and it's nice to see, and I do think Adams helps this offense out quite a bit. And because again, like I mean, the threat of Mike Williams, especially a Mike Williams that it seemed like Aaron Rodgers didn't even want to throw the ball to, that it's not really a threat, and so they could hone in on Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson's too talented to disappear with another receiver on the league. I mean, we're talking about a guy who played with Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave in college. So like
Right.
it's not like he's not used to playing with superstars all around him. And so really now it just forces defenses to pick their poison. And I feel like even a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers is going to make you pay when you leave one of those guys in single coverage because both of them can slaughter single coverage. So it just forces a lot. And with just, even though Rodgers is definitely not at the height of his powers, he's still fairly accurate and can get these guys the ball. And so if you give him space, which now I think that was the problem. He had 23 targets, but the efficiency in that week was horrendous. But now you're forcing these guys to be left open at some point. I mean, Adams is still great, and so you can't just leave him alone. And then, yeah, he basically is just going to line up and try to pick you apart with these two guys. And that's why you're seeing them both get really good target numbers. I mean, 26 and 27, that speaks to a guy going, okay, who's got the single? That's where I'm going.
Right. Yeah, it takes the mystery out of it when you have just like two lethal weapons,
Hmm.
and then Brees Hall still exists, you know.
Yeah,
So good
exactly.
job, Brees. Like you're good, dude. We like you. You can catch the ball too sometimes, but not as much as last year, apparently,
No,
because
not so
these guys are
much.
just crushing it, man. So
Aaron Rodgers never been a dump off king, that's for sure.
no, no, but all that to say that Brees Hall still got 50 targets on the year. That's pretty good. So,
That was pretty good.
but man, I think I think I'm out of stuff.
Well, that was tremendously enlightening, and I appreciate you carrying the weight this week and helping me out. But so that has been Spread the Love and the little trade deadline talk here. And we will be back next week. Hopefully, I'll be a little more prepared for you all, and we will kick back into it with some week 11 stuff. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Hell yeah.
I took a lease out on